Well, everybody, thanks for joining us. Is Zach Figman, Shadan Shu is also with me here, my wife and business partner and everything. I'd like to kind of get you started. For those that could attended the presentation or the talks in Dallas, that was great. I wanted to kind of start off with the actual what is the tech or some of this, the project that we're actually working on out in the first project is out there in the Nelly Gale Ranch, and I'm going to show you guys some videos after this disclaimer. I have to present at the beginning of all these presentations. You remember investing is a risk and all that other information. There will be documentation that'll be shared with you in the future if you so decide to go along with this. Anyway, let me show. The problem with housing in general is wood-built homes. The pictures I have right here, one is actually from Palisades, is on the bottom. Another one is from one of my apartment complexes that caught fire in March. Fire catches, moves really fast, and destroys homes. And we've been building with wood since Christopher Columbus and the other guys showed up in the Western Hemisphere because there was abundance of it at the time. And it's just kind of stuck. But that being said, with fires and other issues, it's going to come to an end through us and through insurance. So the national deficit of homes per like the NAHB or the National Association of Realtors says there's about 7 million short. That's disputable, but we know in the state of California, there's definitely a shortage of housing. Insurance premiums are increasing drastically. We've seen that in the multifamily space, and they're seeing it out in California. And a lot of that has to just do with our structures are built with pine, a little bit of OSB, and it just kind of it's up there. And people are expected to last forever, and it's definitely not. So let me get out of this one, kind of show you the current build, some media. So this is us. This is our team out there in California. This is how we kind of build the tech. It's whole patented and everything else, and I'll go into that. And here is the guys just pouring it out. Our mix is patent mix. There's foam in between, and this is how it would be made in a situation where you have like a spec home. Let me show you the next one. Here's another. Here's them guys finishing it out, seeing how this is a one-off kind of deal, showing that the tech's being built out there. Here's what is done. We lifted the whole walls in a day. So this is some of the progress we were showing. And reason why I'm so interested in this, so just to give you guys an idea of how this stuff moves fast before I kind of get into the rest of it, because I really wanted you to see the tech, seeing how the guys use a crane instead of a whole framing crew to just put the panels down, which can save monumental amount of time when you're building a home. All these trades are a lot of trades are eliminated through the use of our panels, and not to mention the flammability thing. Seeing that this is a crane, this is a special build where we had to have a long reach to be able to put it out over the whole thing. And here's like a curated video that one of our business partners made when it comes up here. It'll come. Yeah. He put that dramatic, if you can hear the music, put a little drama to it. But yeah, see right here, most of this is being done in one day. How you can get all the structures in, being able to have it. So let me go back to the presentation. I like to start with the big thing first, with why this is so important to building in general, or in my view, is one of the biggest things is that home that we're building out there in Laguna Hills, is going to be a $7.5–8 million home. The cost for that we have quoted from farmers once it's completed is about a little under $3,200 per year. And the neighbor, one time when Shay and I were out there on site, decided to come over and inspect and talk to us. And they told us this is pre-LA fires, that they had a cost of $17,000 for their 2024 premium to 25. And their premium in 23 to 24 was 9,500, and we're going to talk about more. It's at least up 17%. I'm not sure if they had State Farm or whoever, but you can imagine this is kind of a big deal to deal with homeowners' premiums. So the solution that we have is the Power by Nile build. So once we have these, we're aiming to is create more of a manufactured situation versus like on-site situation. We'll be able to produce these panels for builders and that they have all these advantages to build with, from all these trades that they don't need to go use to cut down the time, the fire ratings, how, if you're building there, this is water issues, flood resistance, this stuff's net zero ready. The R values are so low. Obviously already mentioned insurance discounts. The panels, the way they're built, they have foam in between them that they have very good sound dampening too. So you don't have to deal with, if you have a kid playing the drums outside or whatever, the things that, or in a room can have a lot of sound dampening already through your walls. Termites, maintenance free. I'm showing you also on this slide, they actually, under a different auspice, they had helped build with the Department of Energy a home in Vegas where they actually had all the panels ready in the mid 2000s, and they were able to build a house in like the whole first floor walls in like one day. And I'm just showing you as a potential generation two home design of a smaller layout that might be for something in California or wherever. So our goal through this fund is to help Nile Built raise money to start building facilities. As you can see from the videos earlier, that if we have to do all these on site all the time, the time involved will be monumental. I mean, you still get a great product, but the costs won't make as much sense as where if we have facilities where we can start producing lines of the panels to sell to the builders, excuse me, that we can go out there, they can have a foundation ready to go. We have crews ready. We can take it out there on a flatbed, plop it down, bolt it in, and pretty much have the first floor done in a day. If they have multiple floors, they make it a little more difficult, but there's ways to make it go faster still than traditional building. And we foresee that one facility that we are able to create with them will have the potential over 200 million revenue from the amount of demand which I'm going to kind of get in a little bit later, that they have out there in California. Not to mention anything else in the rest of the country. So we're going to have a business model too, is that we're also going to be able to license this stuff beyond LA. But the thing is, like, right now in California, the builders are kind of coming to us to talk to us because they know in places like at Palisades and Eaton, they're not going to let them build back the way they had them. A lot of those were old, thin wood houses. They can't build back anyway because of code. So only, as far as I know, only truly 4 permits have been really issued, and our technology will we'll pass all the California regulations. There's some net zero mandates that we'll talk about. I've talked about in the past with some of you. It's a solution for every type of entity out there, kind of thing. And as the cleanup continues in LA, you can only see the demand for our product will increase, that people want to get back into those areas. So with our Builders Alliance part, which is kind of things where I tell them that they're coming to us, is that we're going to work with reputable builders also and say, hey, if we're not able to produce enough panels and they want to go other places, we'll be able to license the technology. They'll be able to be able to do it on their own, like we were doing it on the one site too, because there's going to be certain sites like the one in the Nellie Gal Ranch that are particularly unique that you're going to have to build special panels for. But we want to be able to build our panels to sell them all to people out there, to grow our revenues, grow our value of the Nile Built company. And we'll be able to work with a number of builders to pump this out. And I mean, if I could get into every conversation we've had with people in LA for sustained SoCal, it's mind-blowing the amount of people are really interested to build with this. There's actually a mandate in California. I haven't talked to some of you before, where at one point California makes a mandate, say, hey, everything needs to be net zero by 2020. Well, obviously they couldn't do that. And the builders at the time, nobody built to that level. But now with our stuff, they're going to be able to. So that'll just it'll funnel the types of building to basically being the Nile Built way. Where some of our areas, in March, they updated all the fire maps for the rest of the state. There's certain areas now that you'd be hard pressed to get insurance without something that was non-combustible. As I talk through this thing, there's some stuff about being a 2-hour burn minimum that's being proposed for all building materials on new construction in California. And on top of that, I know there's a number of transactions that have not completed because insurance. People can't get insurance out there because they won't write it for fire. People have lost it, or they only have the fair plan. Shay and I know friends of friends that have lost Malibu mansions, and all they had was the fair plan in California, and they lost a $20 million mansion and only get $3 million coverage kind of thing. So you won't have a more. It's really they're really having nerves out there because if they don't have a mortgage industry, they don't have a housing industry. All the things that cascade down from there. Our panelized construction solves so many of these problems. Fortunate, unfortunate. As we were working through the first project, the LA fires happened. And we have some of the best real estate in the country to work with. Some notable people have reached out to Scott Long and Minoj about our tech multiple times over, seeing if we could eventually get around to working with them. I can't like compile the number of like people that have come to us about we need to have this going so that we can start rebuilding from LA about their tax base because you can imagine Eaton and Palisades is really gonna hurt them on revenues this year because of the fires and the values of their homes are near zero. They're just gonna be land value. Utilities because our stuff's net zero, there's gonna be areas where like PG&E can't add more power, so we might be able to microgrid with battery packs and solar systems with our stuff where we can almost like we can almost create communities with our tech and the builders where you don't have to add more, there won't be actually more energy used on the grid thing. So because of the energy efficiency of this stuff. So we've been working a lot with the GoBiz team in California. They're going to propose the California Residential Code that they're seeking a 2-hour minimum burn time for construction materials. This is mostly driven that the insurance costs are continuing to explode on them. There's areas just they won't be able to build because nobody can afford the insurance to make the mortgage work for people. Our standard will see that based upon where we know with the building out there in Nelligale, the insurance will be much more reasonable for people looking to build with our technology. And at some point, because of regulations, it just might even bottleneck down and down further on all the current building situations where they're just not going to be able to. And why is this really important? So, like California is wanted to be able to build 180,000 homes a year, but for the last few years, the max of them they can only been able to build is about 40,000 units, and they need to be at 180K. And according to the state estimates, there are over 1 million cumulative less. And if you were following the news recently, State Farm went to their commissioner, the insurance commissioner, and they approved minimum a 17% increase in home premiums. It's actually worse for condo owners and renters insurance. It could be up as high as 38%. So this is going to cause values of homes to decrease that are currently wood built. And it's continue to be more issues there. So they're hot and heavy to make our stuff the standard. The people of GoBiz. They want our stuff to be being produced. So we're trying to make that happen for them. And I had this slide thrown in. This is from a Recovery LA. I can put this in the documents later that people can look at. But this is showing that this is in square footage, and in the bottom is well, this is actually in billions down here. So just in Eaton and Palisades, there's over $26 billion of money that they estimate is going to take a damage to be recovered just at those two fires. So you can imagine when these people want to go build back, they're going to need our stuff to be able to do that. Or the only couple other options they have would be masonry, which will be way more expensive, steel, which could be considerably more expensive, or and then there's also a couple other like concrete block, but that requires so much more labor, which ends up out there, which ends up being could be even more tricky. It doesn't solve a lot of other things which our panels do, with such as like water penetration and seismic. One of the things I'm gonna add here is that I'll tell that later. So we're gonna end up producing. This is based off of one facility. Our aim is that over time that we're going to be able for one facility that we're going to try to produce up to 260 keys to 500 keys when we fully get going during the first full year of operation. In the best case scenario, maybe it's up to 1,000. And then in year two, we're going to continue to grow and grow. So our goal with this fund is to raise up to 10 million to help them finish out 4 facilities as to start producing panels for the builders. So I want to go some of the 2026 potential business. Valencia, California, we're in high level conversations with builders, models in a potential of 20,000 home build out. When I was referring to the microgridding of things out there, that they have a power issue and fire issues out there. If we're able to build with ours and we use the solar panels and make it net zero, they can potentially be completely off grid with our technology. There's over 10, and obviously I've been referring to Palisades, Eaton. There's over 10,000 structures have been destroyed. So there's going to be a lot of potential for building it. And I was saying permits have been slow because they just can't build back the way they had. It's not like just replacing a room or something like these things are burnt to the ground. And it's not just one or two, it's almost all of them. And the insurability, they're just like, a lot of them actually lost insurance before the fires. So they might be left with just selling their homes to a developer. If they did have insurance or something like that, they're going to build back with a different footprint. Great Park at Irvine is another potential area that we've had a lot of discussions with the city of Irvine about where we could be, because they have insurability issues because of fire, and then they're slowed down by trades and permits because they have to continuously do every single step out there. With our stuff, we'll meet the net zero mandate. I say like our insurability quotes. We have like just stuff that's eliminated. Like you don't have to have an insulation guy. Our framing is already done by putting it down. A vapor barrier guy is not involved. The finishing of the exterior walls is quick. It's putting stucco and then paint. We just don't have it. We don't need to do all this carpentry extra things. And then simpler mechanicals, such as like the property that we're doing in Nelligale Ranch will have it will have mini split systems. So they won't have to have docking, and potentially you can have like, less air issues. It can be cleaner in that way. And then also think about termites out there in California. I don't know, many of us are, I know a lot of people here on Texas and other places. They have points of the year where they might cover their homes with these yellow tents to prevent the termites getting out there because they fly around there. And then also think about water penetration. Sometimes it's desert, but it does, when it does rain, it rains hard. And if it did, and for some reason there was a flash flood somewhere or something like that happened, it's not like you're having to tear out all the drywall of your exterior walls. You're gonna have to probably much go into your home and hit it with a power washer or dig it out, whatever. You could be back in your home in a short order or something like that if you ended up having actual flooding issues or something like that. So, what is the opportunity for the investors? We have a 506E offering. We're going to be offering a 12% accrued interest from the time of investment. And once the fund is closed, the investors will be paid back all the interest they're owed, and they'll have the option to convert their original capital at the early entry price to 375 a share. If you decide to, if the thing is that we're going to give the people the option to, if they say, hey, look, I'm just good with my interest, then they'll be bought out. And we see that within 3 years that this could be making up to $1 billion of revenue. So think of multiples of that would create the valuation of the company. The idea with this company is A, we're going to either want to go public in a few years, or B, we could end up having a large conglomerate make us a very nice offer, and then we would be able to make multiples on that 375 entry price. With the technology, we believe is game changing. We can start licensing with all the builders out there. Like I've explained in the last slide, we look to be a breakout public company within 3 years is like our original goal. But like I said, if somebody makes us a really nice offer, we might just take it. Our goal is actually to be within 10 years, be 5% of all new home builds. We think actually in California, we'll just probably be the type of home builds within a few years. If you watch any of these TikToks or Instagrams and you see these new home builds and the walls are not straight, there's all kinds of issues. They're basically building these things with cardboard. We think that people are going to see our stuff and they're going to want to have to build with ours. And our tech is patented. It's got 20-year protection on it. And we're going to continue to expand upon it. I just explained in the last one, you'll have a 12% as a part of this debt fund. And the individual investors can be returned their original capital or continue on at Nile built at 375 a share. My honest belief is that when we're getting to the end of this fund, the news about Nile built will be growing, especially in California. And you're going to see like, look, you got in early. You have the chance to get in the early price before it takes off. Capital needs. This is just over a 10 million. We don't have to have the full 10 million to start the first facility, but this is kind of broken out over four. About 3 million for production and fabrication equipment. Like I was showing in the videos earlier, that the stuff that's very manual and cost intensive. The idea is that we'll be able to produce this stuff a lot quicker, faster with CNC machines and other stuff. We have forms that can break out and push this stuff out daily. With some administrative costs and we'll have to have facilities too that we're gonna have to lease out there and some operating capital, which should be what we see is that happening is as orders come in, we may not even need the full 10 million. We may even just be like, hey, we may stop the fund at 5. We build 2. If we start having lots of orders come in, we'll be able to self-fund at that point. But if we're able to raise up to this, our fund is up to 10. So here's some of our leadership team. Scott and Manoj are the founders, and Mike is is basically our administrative codes guy and working with a lot of the city builders codes nationally. Shay and I are from a strategy. We've been in real estate all over Ohio, Kentucky, Mississippi, Louisiana, Texas. Um, we've been in multifamily mostly. We had a lot of single family homes. Part of our motivation to get involved in this in the first place is because we've seen old homes. We've dealt with termites, we've dealt with fires, we've dealt with tornadoes, we've dealt with hurricanes. And every time we have to end up cleaning something up, it's like, man, there's got to be a better mousetrap to this. And also, we are currently over $500,000 into the first project with Nile built out there in Nellie Gale Ranch. And we intend to put some money into this fund too, of at least 100,000 or more. We and Shay are all in on this project, and we think this is of all the stuff that we've ever done. This is the most excited we think about the long-term effects of the lasting impact we can make on the United States and then maybe the world with this technology. Here's our contact information, and we can open it up for some questions. I know I kind of run through that a little bit, probably on the not too bad, half hour-ish, but I'll just start looking at the chats here. I'll be starting soon. Okay, Angela has a question. How does the electrical and plumbing get added to the house if there's no space in the wall and the panels and the watch, but in the power socket? So actually, there is power sockets, and you can put power sockets into the walls. For plumbing, there's like a utilities closet. You can pull it up there, and actually at the current site, the plumbing is through the foundation, and so you can run it up there and it's like Scott Long actually has a home in Iowa that's built with a generation 1 technology and looks just like a regular home. It can be made to look like a regular home. So uh yeah, so if Joe was asking, you talk about the other people involved in the current structure of the organization. Um okay, somebody's saying it's not issued, but it is. I got it up here. I can actually pull up the patent. So let me share. Here's the patent. So I can, anybody wants this, I can send it to them. Here it is, kind of showing the panel technology using foam plus pinions. Here you go. So anybody who actually wants this, no, it's public, so I don't mind sharing it. So okay, I'll go back to questions. So Kenneth said, so what is the cost of construction versus conventional? Well, it's going to be a similar cost, but the idea is that it'll end up saving people's time. You're cutting out all these trades and labor that you have, but at the same time, we're going to make a premium on what is the competition in this space. Well, there is, you could actually work with, you could do masonry, but there isn't a whole lot of bricklayers, and the cost would be pretty high, and people aren't really building brick. Some people try to do with concrete block, but that doesn't work very well for seismic. Our stuff actually will bend. It's proven that it'll bend, tested, it'll sway 10 inches because it's the actual concrete mix has fibers inside of it, and it can sway with it. And that's really important for California. It's anti-seismic. I mean, you could build something with steel too, but then you're talking like really expensive to get that much steel to build a building. Yeah, Steve Anderson. How does this construction hold up to earthquakes and all that? Yeah, so like I said, and also we're going to put a warranty, like as viable as it grows, we're going to put a 20-year warranty on the room. Obviously, if we had a 9.0 or 10.0, stuff will break at that point if that's end of the world type stuff. But, it's been shown like we could actually in future, if anybody wants to see it, we can send, there's a video of it showing like being a vacuum test, which they do for showing movement on materials, and it would go down 10 inches. And then when they released the vacuum on it, it came back to it. Interior walls can be made of, they're like commercial walls. In the case the one we have actually out in the Nellygal Ranch, we had to do some port in place because of the high ceilings, but it'll you can I mean you could still do a traditional just regular drywall if you wanted to. But the idea is that you still wouldn't end up having you would use more of like a metal mesh kind of thing where you're not using wood and stuff in there. So, what is the timeline of the factory? If we can get up to about 2.5 million, we believe that within 6 months we could have a facility going. We're already actively looking for a site to set up, and we've got a active broker trying to find some place. And there's multiple places we're looking at, so there's not a lack of them. Where's the current production? The current production, we're doing one on site. But we've done, in the past, they've worked on different situations in Iowa where they had a facility and they ended up shutting that situation down. And then they refocused on the residential in California and they got their patented done. Oh, so the relationship between Nile Belt and Stowe Dragon Fund, about raising their own funds expansion, or is this like a franchise? No, so I am good friends with Manoj Kirshan, who's one of the co-founders of this. They brought me in to help with the first project, and I am now the general partner with that project. I've done a lot of fundraising for apartment complexes and other things like that. And they just see me as a good partner for this kind of things, and I've worked and I get directly involved. The people in the first fund know that I'm really good at communication and letting people know what's actually going on. And I just know how to, I've been doing this now, syndication since 2017, and I know how to communicate with people. But I'm also really good with tech. I'm originally a chemical engineer from background, like cement. I used to, like in the oil field, I used to fiber cement. I know a lot of this stuff. I kind of feel like this is what I am. That's how I did. And also they wanted to actually not just go all to, kind of, institutional type investors. We wanted to bring opportunities for the people in the just like I know, like $50,000 investors and stuff like that, hoping that it'll end up making more and with chances to make more. Somebody's asking about the first process was kind of slow. Well, the first process was slow because we had an issue with the lender that was first on there. We're not issuing the draws as quickly. That's why once Shay and I got involved as the GPs on the first process, it's been going fast. Now, we have all the first floor walls since we started with the new lender. Like we've been able to produce all the first floor walls. We have the steel coming out next week. That'll go into the second floor. Then we'll start producing the next floor, and then we'll have by mid-June we'll have the whole box done. And thanks to somebody I know, I have some more people bidding out the interior finishes, and hopefully by later August or July, we'll have the thing done. So how does it compare to 3D printed concrete homes? So 3D printing is actually very cumbersome, and the thing is that you end up doing a layer cake situation. The layer cakes, you have to refinish them. They don't meet code. There's a bunch of issues with them. And in the end, you don't have engineer, like you end up having, like with our panels, you'll end up having to have tests for each panel. You have to have a concrete test at home. These will be figured out, these will be known to be good panels before they end up going out to site. Whereas with you have a 3D printed home, you can end up having multiple issues on site. It's already in there, and then you have to tear it back down. It goes on and on. I can check on Neruda another time. Yeah, sorry, man. I'm okay. At least I have thanks, Chad, for clarifying. Yeah, here you go. So, yeah, I knew it was patented. I didn't go. I just gave the wrong number, but I have it here, so at least I have the proof. Oh yeah, somebody's asked this open to non-LUs. I was very specific. This is not an LU deal. It's for anybody who's not involved in LU. Lifestyles Unlimited is a education real estate. This is not an LU deal, but it's open to 506C accredited investors. Is it possible to drive by the current home? Yes, yes, by all means. As long as you don't go into the site or whatever. Or Steve, like I've told you, I'll be out there the 16th to the 21st. If you wanted to kind of go out there, I would be more than happy to show you on site. How do you confirm accreditation? We'll send out instructions on that.
Yeah, on the cash flow portal, you can actually have, there's a way to get you, yeah, the certification on your status.
Your status.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's ways. I mean,
Yeah,
we
mostly
can
we can
instructions for anybody who has questions, or I can take a phone call at a later time. But yeah, like Whitley says, we want to put so much money and time into this. We didn't believe that this is like the way to go going forward, kind of thing. So, anybody else got some more questions? I'd love to have some more. Anyway, you like, and if you guys follow me, did you get any Cali government? Oh yeah, like I don't want to name, I don't want to name names of people with like without their
um,
permission, but
yeah.
yes,
Mm.
I was just saying how I got involved is that Shay and I are part of a social club that originates out of Juan Capistrano. And we were out there for an event. We actually timed it up with the Sustained SoCal event that they have. And Democrats and Republicans were both going to Scott Minot's like, we really need this. Like, there was no one thing that California is like, they are bipartisan on is like, we need better housing now. The thing is, with the great thing with Nile Built Tech is that you can go to the practical conservative, say, hey, look, you're going to save on insurance money, you know. And then you can go to the environmentally concerned person and say, hey, look, our concrete mix is a lot less carbon intensive. You're cutting down trees kind of thing for this. You're also saving so much carbon by having solar and so you can go and then all the concerned homeowners had a fire or whatever, especially in some of these areas and they're like a PTSD of just like, if I rebuild, am I going to lose it again? Because those Santa Ana winds are never going to stop. They're always going to be in Southern California is beautiful, but it's a desert and it has risk. Yeah, I mean the see with the interior of the house being concrete, it limits remodeling. Um, so like the way it goes with so you wanted to remodel. Obviously, you can't like put in a new window unless you get it engineered, but you could definitely put in like say you wanted to put another electrical outlet, that wouldn't be a big deal. Yeah. What is the greatest risk to investment? To me, it's just like it just could go slower than we'd hope. I mean, it could take a little longer, but I think that everything has risk. There's nobody in the pipeline that has a technology like that's this far along and it's already patented and it's ready to go. I mean, you can have the recession of recessions, but there's still at the same time, they're gonna people are want there's so much insurance money or and stuff like that in say Palisades and Eaton that people are gonna want to rebuild. So maybe it takes a little longer than we hoped, kind of thing. Like everything else can go faster, can go shorter. Minimum investment is 50,000. The one thing I was trying to say is that I've watched some stuff on KTLA or some other people have like a gimmick. Hey, look, I got this metal casita or something like that, or this compressed wood. But that stuff is not, it's maybe it's for retrofitting old houses potentially, but there's nothing like this will be stuff for new builds and stuff. So is Nile Built going to focus on marketing products or developments? Most builders are not getting used to implement new materials and says, how do you solve their so Nile Built is going to be focusing on the shells, selling the products. Not to say that we wouldn't ever pick out another lot and build one again. We're going to be focused strictly on selling the shells to the builders out there. I mean, I'm not at liberty to say which one right now is really hot and heavy because I'm under gag at the moment, but there are a few that are like ready. They're basically, when can we get going on this? So
And we'll help to like put everything up.
and the thing, so most builders are not get used to new develop implement new. Well, the thing is, they're being going to be forced because of insurance. And when the state comes out with potential 2 hour minimum burn times, they're going to have to change gears. So the idea, so Steve's asked tiny on distributions again. So the idea is that if we can start raising money this weekend or so in the start of June, idea is it could take us the first like 2.5. It might take up to 6 to 9 months to get the first thing in production and going. So then you could start being paid out in about 9 months' time. And then as things go on, we may end up getting lots of there's a good chance that we start getting a lot of deposits on these shells, and that we would end up start you may end up being a quicker turnaround, but then you'd have the option to get out. But the idea is that we do believe that the demand will be very high for this stuff going. What is the time for distribution? So the idea is that once we're going, we can start making some distributions, and then in like at the end, anything that would be left, it hadn't been paid out yet, we do a full catch up, and at that point, you have your option. So an actual $100,000 amount. So like, okay, so if you invested 100,000 June 1st, and it took us 2 years, you could end up making $24,000 of interest. But then you'd have the option to be converted to shares at 375. If we're successful in going to IPO in years 3 or 4, maybe you end up having a multiple on that 100,000. I think it could be multiples of multiples but I think I'd be pretty safe and say at least maybe a 2 or 3x, but I think it could be more than that. What are other potential uses for advanced forward? For example, yes, we definitely have. We've talked about. So if some I know one of my friends who in Southern California, he's actually in here to talk about one of the guys who's talking to me about like he develops apartments out there, and he's talking about he made sure I got a recording of this so that he could see it because they're gonna run up against these issues. Currently, we have the conversion. We believe that the tech could be sold for a few billion right now. Like if they actually went out there and marketed with all the possibilities that are growing right now, I think it's just the value will just grow and grow from here. But then again, that's why if you end up being in this thing and you're like, nah, I don't believe in the valuations of future, then you can just get your money back when you get paid out. You could not continue on. Just take the interest and say, and we shake hands and we're all friends. If you sell the bit, yes. If we end up selling the whole thing, it would be lock, stock, and barrel, and it would be for there's a 725, I think it's like 750 million shares or so. Who is getting the shares? So is there documentation on the structure that's going into the shares? I mean, we could talk about that later, but yes, there's they actually right now you could invest straight into the company. This is what the thing is like there is a 506c where you can go invest right now at 375 with them. But what we created was the this option or this debt fund where you have the option to go in later. And the two founders have a majority share of the shares now. They've been at this for 20 years, maybe trying to get this like tooling this to get it right. Sometimes it's like when you see these things like, oh, it's a 20-year overnight success. So there's been a lot of ups and downs with this stuff. We're hitting our moment right now with the insurance, the fires, and everything else. Yeah, so Scott Long is the original founder. They started with a company, they had thermal mass. They sold a lot of their technology to places like Home Depot. At one point, the technology was working with Dow, but then they got it back during the 2008, after 2008. They worked on this with a different iteration where they were producing panels for like schools and other facilities. And then they shut that down, and then concentrated out here on California, where just all the demand, all the right needs for this tech are all centered. Like California needs this bad, but that's not to say Houston doesn't need this bad too, because we got a bunch of wind and other hurricanes and stuff like that. Permanent planet. So, like I was saying before, plumbing can be ran through a utility closet, and electrical wiring can be run up through the ceiling back down. And drainage, what about vent pipes? So, like, I mean, it's all included, and we wouldn't be able to build this current home if that wasn't all involved. Sorry, Leandre, I know that's kind of a long question, but it's just the slab. Thing is, a slab isn't, other than it needs to be able to hold the amount of weight. It's still a concrete slab, and you have connection to water and sewer and stuff like that. Yeah, so stuff like this it's similar to tilt wall, but it's just really not been used in homes. Yep. Our stuff is actually like it's more than just tilt wall because it's got the foam inside of it, and it has the seismic resistance to that, and all the other benefits. Why do you not have any contracted orders? Because we have to actually start producing them. Like they want to, like we would end up. We actually have a listing out there where there's like a potential phantom listing. It has already like hundreds of people on a wait list who want to look at the potential home thing. Roger, I'll call you about that. Yeah, so there's no tariff issues with our tech. It's all can be produced here. The concrete, the foam, the fiberglass, all that stuff. Anything else? Well, we're running up about an hour. So anyway, if you have emails, you want to call me or whatever, or Shay, welcome to take your calls or whatever. The more I get out there, and I know some of you guys are just wanted to see the presentation, but spread the word. Honestly, we want to be building, like, we're apartment people first, and we want to be coming back with, like, we want to be able to build a 12 unit in Houston and it makes sense kind of thing in the future. And we see this as one of the ways to do that too. So anyway, thank you all for coming and I'll talk to you later.